Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined by our two DFS Coach Talk pros in the NFL, Mr. Stephen Miller and Mr. Josh Crash Davis. How are you, gentlemen?
Doing great.
Well.
Yeah.
Very good. We are going to just fire right into this. We are going to preview our top 10 wide receivers and our top 5 tight ends and get you ready for your fantasy leagues, your year-longs, your dynasty leagues, your best balls, whatever you've got coming up. And it serves as a good reminder and review for daily fantasy that's right around the corner as we're all having a good time playing some preseason to get ready for the real deal. So if you're watching right now on YouTube, give us a quick thumbs up. We'd really appreciate that. And subscribe to the station. Click the little alert button. This way you know when any of our podcasts post. If you're watching on TikTok, a quick follow and like would be greatly appreciated. We'll be posting these all the way up through the NFL season and then all kinds of them coming up during the NFL season. All right, no further ado. We're diving right in here at Coach Talk. The top 10 receivers will go 10 through 6 first. Steven, what do you got?
All right. At number 10, I have Mike Evans. Last year, he was the 9th ranked running back, just had his 8th consecutive 1,000-yard season, tied for second with 10 red zone touchdowns. In 2022, he's got Tom Brady with Chris Godwin and kind of banged up, and Gronk retiring again. I think he's going to easily have another 1,000-yard season. And I think he's going to get his first 100-yard receiving season too.
Nice.
So I have him at 10. At 9, I have CeeDee Lamb. Last year, he was the 19th ranked wide receiver. He had 232 fantasy points, 79 receptions, and just over 1,100 yards. This year, I think he's going to be the true wide receiver one for the Cowboys with the loss of Amari Cooper and they lost the other receiver over to Miami, Cedric Wilson.
Yes. Cedric Wilson, yeah.
Yeah, so I see a lot more targets coming his way, and I see him having over 100 catches and another 100 catches, another 1,000-yard receiving season with double-digit touchdowns. So I have him at 9. At number 8, I have Keenan Allen. Last year was ranked the number 11th wide receiver. He had 246 fantasy points, averaged 16.1 points per game. Top 10 in targets, just under 10 per game. In 2022, he's Justin Herbert's guy. He's kind of the security blanket for him. The guy runs crisp routes. He's more of a possession receiver, and he's got that solid floor in fantasy that you need every week. So I have him at 8. At number 7, I have Tyree Kill. He was a sixth ranked wide receiver last year with 300 points. He averaged 17.4 fantasy points per game. He was traded to Miami this offseason. He's the fastest, most explosive player I've ever seen. And under new head coach Mike McDaniel, coming from the Shanahan coaching tree, he'll come up with creative ways to get Tyreek Hill the ball. So I have Tyreek Hill at number 7. At number 6, I have Debo Samuel. He was the 3rd ranked wide receiver last year. He had 339 fantasy points with just over 21 points per game. He had 8 rushing touchdowns. This year, he's one of the biggest parts of that San Francisco offense. He's big, strong. He's a physical guy that has top-end speed. I see Shanahan still finding lots of strategic ways of getting him the ball, but I don't see him being used in the run game like he was last year. I think they're gonna scale back a little bit with that. But I have Debo Samuel at my number 6.
Outstanding. Can't go wrong with any of those guys. That's for darn sure. A lot of those guys are in a lot of people's top 5s too. So some really good ones. All right. Outstanding. Crash, what do you counter here with your 10 through 6 for the upcoming NFL season?
Yeah, we have some of the same guys. I've got Michael Pittman at number 10. He had 88 receptions for 1,082 yards and 6 touchdowns last year. He's going to have Matt Ryan this year at quarterback, so I think it's going to be a little bit of an upgrade for him over Carson Wentz. Matt Ryan has a history of helping the number 1 wide receivers have huge seasons, and I think that as good as Pittman was last year, just his second year in the league, I think he'll have an even bigger year with Matt Ryan throwing the ball to him once they get comfortable playing together. So Michael Pittman is my number 10 wide receiver. At number 9, I have Keenan Allen. He had a career high 106 catches last year on 157 targets for 1,138 yards receiving and 6 touchdowns. This will be his third year with Justin Herbert. I think that he'll have another big year this year, lead the Chargers wide receiver core. He's had 100+ receptions and 1,000+ receiving yards in 4 of his last 5 seasons. So definitely no slowdown in Keenan Allen, even though he's hit the 30 mark now. So Debo Samuel is number 8. He is, going to have to adjust a little bit to having a new quarterback with Trey Lance. Their offensive coordinator, Mike McDaniel, has accepted the head coach position in Miami, so that'll be an adjustment too. So it'll be interesting to see how they utilize him. But, he was the 3rd best fantasy wide receiver last year behind Cooper Kupp and Devonte Adams. I think he'll fall a few spots. That's why I have him at number 8, but he's still a top 10 wide receiver in fantasy. At number 7, I have CeeDee Lamb with Amari Cooper in Cleveland, as Steve mentioned, and Cedric Wilson in Miami. And also Michael Gallup is still recovering from his ACL injury. So he is the obvious number 1 target for Prescott. He had 79 receptions on 120 targets for 1,102 yards last year with 6 touchdowns. I think, like Steven said, I'm going to have him projected for 100+ catch season and double-digit touchdowns. So he will be my number 7 wide receiver. At number 6, I have Mike Evans of the Tampa Bay Bucks. With Rob Gronkowski retiring and Tom Brady deciding to come back, I think he'll look more than ever towards Mike Evans, especially in the red zone. I think that, even though the Bucs did add Julio Jones this offseason, I think I don't quite trust the health history there with him, and have concerns about him re-injuring his hamstring and the other injuries that he's dealt with. And Chris Godwin is still trying to recover from his ACL injury. So Mike Evans should be the main guy for Brady. I think he had 13 and 14 touchdowns the last 2 years, and I think 15+ is well within his reach this year. So he will be my number 6 wide receiver.
I like that play. I like all those plays, but I do agree with you with Gronk gone. He's going to catch some of those tough short balls over the middle for some touchdowns, no doubt.
Definitely.
Very good picks all the way across the board. If you're watching us on YouTube, quick thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. We'd appreciate it. If you're watching on TikTok, like and follow. And now we're going to get into our top 5 wide receivers. Steven, who are your 5th through 1 for the upcoming 2022 NFL season?
All right. At number 5, I have Stefan Diggs. Last year, he was the 7th ranked wide receiver. He was top 5 in targets, played in every game, averaged 16.8 fantasy points per game, had over 2,700 yards in the past 2 years, which is pretty awesome. He's Josh Allen's number 1 wide receiver. He has incredible hands and route running ability, rarely catches the ball off of his pads. Only reason he's not really higher on this list is because the other weapons that they have there in Buffalo. So because he could be a top 3 wide receiver for sure. But I have him at my number 5. At number 4, I have Jamar Chase. Jamar Chase was the 5th ranked wide receiver last year. He had 304 fantasy points, 81 receptions, 1,455 yards, and 13 touchdowns. Averaged 18 yards per reception, the 2nd most out of anybody. Broke Justin Jefferson's record last year for most yards by a rookie. Has a great connection with Joe Burrow, arguably the best passing attack in the league, and he's number 1 on the Bengals. He's fast and decisive and can score from anywhere on the field. So I have Jamar Chase at number 4. At number 3, I have Justin Jefferson. Last year, he was a number 4 wide receiver in fantasy. He played in all 17 games, was 2nd in the league with over 1,600 receiving yards. He's averaged he has 2,758 receiving yards in his first 2 years, most in NFL history. He's got amazing hands, crisp routes, has ability to just glide by defenders, can run routes from any receiver position. He seems like he plays with a chip on his shoulder. So I have Justin Jefferson at my number 2. At number 1, I have Cooper Kupp. He was number 1 ranked player last year in fantasy, had the most points, led the league in targets, receptions, yards, touchdowns. He was Super Bowl MVP. He's already got a solid connection with Stafford. His timing routes, play design, and overall chemistry is only going to get better in year 2. He's a leader and a coach on the field. He has incredible game and field awareness. He challenges defenders every time he goes up against somebody in a game. He challenges them with their everyday drills. He makes them turn, plant, break, backpedal, and he exposes those techniques and takes advantage of it during the game. He wants to force the defense to do their everyday drills. Smartest guy on the field, and that's why I have him at my number 1.
Excellent. Did you do your number 2? Did you skip
Yeah,
one?
that's what I was going to ask, if you skipped number 2.
I mean, you're so excited to get to him. I don't know if you gave us our number 2.
I was. My number 2 was Justin Jefferson. My number 3 was Jamar Chase.
Okay. So it feels like we skipped one in there, but that's okay. We'll review.
You didn't have Devonte Adams in your top 3?
That's what happened.
I think, yeah, that was it. That's who you missed.
He's 4.
4. Okay.
Yeah. So I have Devonte Adams at 4. He was last year was the 2nd ranked wide receiver, just over 340 fantasy points. He averaged 21.5 points per game, had 29 touchdowns, over 2,900 yards in the past 2 years. Traded from the Raiders. He's reconnecting with his old college quarterback, Derek Carr. Josh McDaniels, new coach over there, whose offensive scheme will create a lot of mismatches, especially having Waller on the other side of the field or somewhere on the field. No defenses will be able to double cover him. He never gets jammed off the line, which will allow him and Carr to perfect their timing routes pretty quickly. And the guy loves to attack the football. And that's why I have Devonte Adams at 4. I'm surprised. I don't know how it missed it.
That's all right. I mean, he gets to play with a real quarterback this year, so man, he'll improve.
About that.
little crash.
Yeah, little crash course for me.
Well,
I don't know what happened.
I thought you were going to have Adams at 2, and because you said Jefferson at 3 at first, and I was like, oh wow, we're going to have the exact same top 5. So. So number 5, I have Stefan Diggs. As you mentioned, he had a strong year last year with 103 catches for 1,225 yards. Was actually 300 yards less than he had the year before in 2020, even though he played an extra game. He played all 17 games last year, but he did score double-digit touchdowns for the first time in his career last year with 10. So he'll continue to be the primary target for Josh Allen. He was targeted 166 times last year. He's playing with who I have ranked as my number 1 fantasy quarterback in Josh Allen. So he's definitely a top 5 wide receiver. The top 5 are so talented that it was hard to figure out who I wanted to put where, but he landed at number 5 for me. Number 4, I have Jamar Chase. Unbelievable rookie year last year. I think he'll have an even bigger year this year. He had 81 receptions on 128 targets for the 4th most receiving yards last year at 1,455. He'll have another year of working with Joe Burrow, so I don't see any reason whatsoever to expect a sophomore slump from him. And I wouldn't be shocked at all if he ends up being the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy in 2022. Number 3, I have Justin Jefferson. He has a new head coach with Kevin O'Connell, the former Rams offensive coordinator, who was a big part of why Cooper Kupp had as much success as he did last year. And he's already talked about using Jefferson in a similar way that they use Kupp in LA. So I think it's going to be a huge year for Justin Jefferson. He had the 2nd most receiving yards last year with 1,616. So with an offensive-minded coach like Kevin O'Connell, I think the sky is the limit for him. Just a little bit of a shot here, but if he had a better quarterback than Kirk Cousins and wasn't going to have to face Jair Alexander 2 times a year, he would probably be my top wide receiver this year. And then number 2, I have Devonte Adams. He is the most talented wide receiver in the NFL, but that doesn't mean that he's necessarily the best in fantasy football. I think that losing Aaron Rodgers is going to hurt him a little bit this year, but I also think, as you mentioned, Steve, that he will see more single coverage with them having guys like Hunter Renfrow and Darren Waller to take attention from the defenses. So he will still be one of the best wide receivers in fantasy, but I have him at number 2. I also have Cooper Kupp at number 1. He was number 1 last year. Robert Woods was traded to Tennessee. Odell Beckham left in free agency, and he's no longer signed. He hasn't signed with anyone yet, so he could still possibly return. But at this point, it's pretty much just Cooper Kupp and Allen Robinson that are going to get all the targets. So between those two, Kupp should get a ton of targets. Unbelievable year last year with 1,947 yards receiving. Jefferson was second with 1,616. And Kupp also had 145 receptions, which was 22 more than Devonte Adams, who was second with 123. So he should be the first wide receiver that you take in any draft. And he should be taken over every running back, in my opinion, except for Jonathan Taylor.
So where would Kupp go in your overall draft of all the players, Crash?
2.
Cooper Kupp. 2?
Number 2. Yeah.
Okay.
2 behind Jonathan Taylor. Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor, then Cooper Kupp. How about you, Steven?
I think I would take him number 1.
Okay.
Yep. He had over 120 more fantasy points than – he had the most fantasy points even with quarterbacks last year. So, which never happens. So
right.
I really, really like Cooper Kupp this year.
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
It's tough to say.
And the receiver doesn't get hurt like a running back. So any given play, that running back takes on defenders every single play. So
I
like the reliability with the receiver.
I'm still a running back brain myself. I like the running backs first, but you're right. I've seen a lot of these drafts where Kupp is going first, and it's really interesting. But outstanding stuff, gentlemen, no doubt. And we're going to mix in our top 5 tight ends to this podcast as well, just to give you the full feel of those positions. If you want to join us at DFS Coach Talk for this upcoming season in the NFL, go to dfscoachtalk.com. You can sign up for several of our packages there. We're going to be releasing our NFL package here this week, so keep an eye out for that. But if you want to come in, try us out, we have 3-day pass that you could try for $10. With so many sports going on right now, it is unbelievable, and we're just getting ready for the NFL. So we're very excited here at Coach Talk. And we're very excited about our new partnership with Boom Fantasy. They'll be our partners for the entire NFL season. They will be launching here at the end of August, right before the NFL starts. So something to look forward to there. All right, our 5 tight ends, number 5 through 1. Crash, we'll go to you first this time and see, because I'm sure you guys will have some overlap, because there are definitely a handful of standouts here.
There's only 5 of them.
There's only 5, yeah. So we'll have to go, all of them at once here. All right, so number 5, I've got Dalton Schultz. He broke out in a big way last year. He played all 17 games. He had 78 receptions on 104 targets for 808 yards and 8 touchdowns. And as we mentioned before, Amari Cooper's in Cleveland. Michael Gallup is still recovering from his ACL injury, and Cedric Wilson is in Miami. So Schultz should be the second favorite option for Dak, at least at the beginning of the year, while Gallup still recovers from his ACL injury. So he is my number 5 tight end. Darren Waller is my number 4 tight end. He missed several games last year. He had a down year after a breakout year in 2020. And with the addition of Devonte Adams, defenses are going to be focused on him, especially in the red zone. And I think he'll have a big bounce back year in 2022. Number 3, I have George Kittle. They have, a new starting quarterback in Trey Lance. So we'll have to see how him and Kittle are, how they play together and the rhythm and the chemistry there. But once he gets fully back to full health, I think that he'll be back to what we've seen from him in the past after missing, half of the year last year with a calf and a knee injury. So if he can stay healthy, definitely one of your top tight ends in 2022. At number 2, I have Mark Andrews. He had a huge breakout in 2021, but with Lamar Jackson back at quarterback and defenses are going to be focusing more on him, I think we'll see a little bit of regression from him. But with Gronk retiring, he is still the second best tight end in fantasy football this year for me. And at number 1, I have Travis Kelsey with Tyree Kill in Miami now. He's the clear top option for Patrick Mahomes. Him and Kelsey have incredible chemistry together. He's had 6 straight seasons with over 1,000 receiving yards. He has the best quarterback of any of the top tight ends. And as I mentioned, they have great chemistry. And he's really put up top 5, top 10 wide receiver numbers in recent years. And he could easily be drafted above some of those top 10 wide receivers that we mentioned.
I agree. How high in your overall draft does Kelsey go? First round?
At the turn. If I was a 12th pick, I would pick up Kelsey on the turn. So,
Okay.
12?
If I was a first or second pick in the second round, he should probably go.
Yeah.
I would say I'd probably have him around 8, but yeah.
Yeah, I think his role is going to even increase more. I mean, if he stays healthy, he could be an absolute monster to bring it home for you, because you're going to get a ton of touchdowns. Yeah, he's one of my favorites in this draft for sure. All right, how much of a similar group do you have?
It's exactly the same.
Wow.
So good job, Crash. At number 5, I have Dalton Schultz. Last year, he was the 3rd ranked tight end. He had 208 fantasy points and played in all 17 games, like you were saying, Josh. He averaged 14.1 points per game. He's found a great chemistry with Dak Prescott. Like you were saying, with loss of Cedric Wilson and Amari Cooper, his target share is going to go up. He's a big guy that's pretty fast, and he always finds the open holes in the defense. And that's where he makes his living off of. So he's at my 5. At 4, I have Darren Waller. He was the ranked number 17th tight end last year due to injuries throughout the year. 2 years prior, he had over 1,100 yards and 100 receptions per year. In 2022, I see in the new offense that McDaniels brings, where in New England, he highly utilized the tight ends like Gronk and all the other guys that I don't really want to mention on that list. But he will create mismatches all over the field that Waller will benefit from. And the Raiders offense will be a fun one to watch this year for sure.
Yeah.
So I have him at 4. At 3, I have George Kittle. He was the number 4th ranked tight end last year. He had 198 fantasy points and only played in 14 games. Had a career high in touchdowns. He's a big part of this entire offense in San Francisco. He'll be Lance's security blanket this year, and the guy always puts 100 miles per hour into every play. He has an incredible enthusiasm, something that you can't teach. So I have him at number 3. At number 2, I have Mark Andrews. He was the number 1 ranked tight end last year. He had 301 fantasy points and averaged 17.7 points per game. Had career highs in receptions, yards. Was a top 10 in targets and all pass catchers in the league. In 2022, he's the go-to guy for Jackson. He always catches the ball with his hands and has a great ability to escape and elude defenders, has great body control, and his yards after catch ability is one of the best in the league. So I have him at 2. At 1, I have Travis Kelsey. He was number 2 ranked tight end last year. He had 262 fantasy points, 16.44 points per game. And he actually had a down year with his lowest point total since 2017. Those points were down last year as he has volume increasing, basically due to the loss of their entire receiving core. He has a great connection with Mahomes and again, it's a security blanket. Can find open holes all over the field, catches the ball at the highest point. He has a way about moving his body. You really never see Kelsey ever taking a big hit, which is why he's so successful over the years. He's almost 33 this year. And he's so reliable and dependable, and the guy doesn't miss any games. So that's why I have him at my number 1.
Very nice. I did not realize he was that old, but man, he still could play. There's no doubt about it. Well, that is cut and dry. You have the same 5 in the same order. That is impressive. And we don't compare notes.
No.
We like to do it organically here. Just let it out. Let's share it. So that shouldn't be there shouldn't be any question in who you want to go after tight end wise. I guess it comes down to how early you pick them, but definitely some good guys there. So outstanding, fellas. Can't wait for this NFL season. It's our 2 pros, like I say, Stephen Miller, who's got a tremendous background, played college football at the highest level, Division I, and our man Josh Crash Davis coming off a huge year for us in the NFL last year. So it's going to be a fantastic upcoming season, no doubt about it. We're going to put a few more of these podcasts out, a few teaser podcasts, go over some other things. We'll be posting those here within the next couple of weeks as well. And that'll be it. Any final words from you guys?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if you notice, I didn't have Tyree Kill in my top 10. I do not trust Tua Tagovailoa. How do you say his name? It's hard to say, but but anyway, so Tua, I don't trust him at all. And I mean, he's going from arguably the best quarterback in the NFL right now to him. So I think that, Tyreek's going to struggle. I think he'll be open a lot of times, and I don't see Tua hitting him as often, anywhere near as often as Mahomes was able to. So a little bit of a hot take there. I've seen Tyreek in just about everyone's top 10, but I don't have him around like 15. So
nice. Anything, Steven, on your side?
No, just that I'm excited for this year to start. These preseason games, it's fun and it's exciting, but it's not the same as when the season starts.
It's a real deal.
Looking forward to it.
Outstanding. Well, we're getting very close, and we will be here to cover all of it. We're covering every game, every slate right here at Coach Talk. So outstanding. Thank you, gentlemen, and thank you, everybody, for listening in, those that jumped in the chat as well. This will be posted here, all the way up until the beginning of the season, so you'll have a good 3 weeks or so to check that out. All right. Thank you very much. We'll be back again next time when we look to crush it in NFL, DFS, and fantasy football with Boom Fantasy.